Alright, I usually don't do multiple scenes in one day. Sometimes I do, but a photograph came up on my Pinterest feed, and I thought, yeah, I think I could do something like that. And, I don't know, sometimes when you get the inspiration, it's best to do it, well, I don't know, maybe that's just me, because I'll forget about it. But it has a moon and there's some hanging branches. It's really quite minimal, but the thing that's kind of, really cool about it is the reflection down here in the water. And I thought, that kind of inspiration piece would kind of give me the excuse to use some of this. I don't know what color this is. It's like a deep blue, purplish tone. In the foil pack that I got at Michael's a couple weeks ago. It's a Recollections pack. And I thought we would try something with that. Okay, I want to place that moon roughly, I don't know, rule of thirds type of thing. So if you divide this up between 3, it's right there. You divide it up 3 this way, somewhere like that. And it's kind of our focal point, anytime you get this, glowing orb up in the sky. It's if it's not the focal point, it's going to be right up there in terms of something eye-catching, especially when you're doing it on, a dark paper like this. All right, so this is Brilliance Moonlight White, which is a pigment ink, but it's also a pigment ink that will dry on this paper, or this, I don't know, foil or whatever you call it. I don't know. I don't know if you call it foil. I think the package refers to it as something like foil cardstock. I don't know if it's technically that, though. I don't know if you're an expert on paper, then you can answer that one. But I believe that's what it said. All right, so there is my moon. All right. And let's see. And in this photograph, this moon is kind of glowing, so there's a nighttime type of glow happening up top there. It's kind of an overall glow, but I think we might be able to do something a little bit more interesting with cloud formations. This is just a ripped paper towel. I don't know if I used it for a cloud template. Okay, if you don't have any cloud templates, you can use this, or if you have a cloud template, you can use this, okay? Technique right here, but I am adding some ink right next to my ripped paper towel. And what we'll do, I'll show you kind of the little technique right here of adding it in. Okay, so it looks like that. Try to add a lot more. Well, I don't know about a lot more, but more right next to your towel. Okay. But what I like to do is I like to take that now and transition. Let me get some of that off right there. If you ever get anywhere you don't want it to be, the beauty of this foil is you can just wipe it right off. Brilliance ink will dry in here, but it doesn't dry like really fast. Okay, that's a little bit too much. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to like wipe it off. Okay, but what I like to do, what I was getting at, was you add kind of a little bit more around your edge. Okay, and then what you do is you just kind of transition it down a little bit. It gets a little blobby, too sometimes. If you have long fingernails, be careful with that because you'll be poking through the piece. Sometimes I find that if I kind of do a little drag as I move it around, I get a little bit of a smoother type of touch rather than just dabbing straight up and down too. It just depends, and maybe it's, I don't know, maybe sometimes my ink pad's a little bit wetter, if you re-ink it or whatever, So I don't know, just get kind of the feel for it. All right, now watch this too. You can kind of add some tone and you want to transition it down where you're using less ink of it farther away. The farther away it gets from your light source, right? Does that make sense? Kind of a brighter cloud next to the light source, and as you move away, it gets a little bit lighter, all right? But that being said, you can also use a dry cotton ball. Let's say if it's not transitioning enough and it's real, it's just solid, white, then just take a dry cotton ball and transition it the opposite way. Come up, instead of applying down away, then you just take this and you come up like that, okay? And just do it accordingly, and you get that nice transition. Look at that beautiful blue right in there, so it's a little bit more opaque up here, and it's a lot more translucent, transparent below. Isn't that fun? That's what's really fun about this foil. I mean, it's doing this on just colored stock too is fun. Non-foil is good, and I love that look. Okay, but this is just, I don't know. This is just extra reflective. It just changes the spirit of it a little bit, or a lot, depending on kind of the angle you're looking at it at. Okay, so that's a cloud right there, and let's just keep building it up like this. This is actually a pretty fast process. There's not a lot of colors that you would use on this. It's just not going to show up. I'm not going to use like a light blue or something like that. I'm talking about it in terms of like, dye-based inks or something like that. Maybe some other pigment inks would look pretty cool on here. I don't know. But you can do a lot with just white, because when you add it in here, it looks kind of white, but then if you add a little bit less, what it looks like is kind of a pale violet or something like that, because you're putting a translucent layer over an existing color, so that color of the foundation looks different depending on how much of this media it has to go through. Okay. All right. So that being said, okay, let's go back to that freehand type of transitioning right here, and you can come up above this cloud too. Okay, you can make this edge of this cloud kind of glow by going above it. So then you see what I mean? There's no like having to stay between the lines or having to be careful about it, because you're going over it anyway. That's what you want. All right, see that right there? I can make that cloud a little bit brighter right there, where it's kind of pointing at the moon. And I'm just going right above it, and it looks a little bit even softer by, by not being careful. I don't know if that's really the description. It's, it's just not having to, I don't know, pick a particular position. All right, something like that. It already looks kind of mysterious, doesn't it? Okay, now I have a big slathering of ink, with my little mask here. Okay, but that moon, I think, would look better if it was kind of glowing. So what you do is you kind of lightly tap in some kind of a dry ink application around it. Okay. And look what that does. Doesn't it change the spirit of that really sharp, I wouldn't say harsh. I think it looked okay as is, but if you add something like that in, it does give it a different spirit. It glows, right? Like that. Isn't that fun? Almost like with that little texture on there too, from that globby paint. It almost gives it that, that moon type of look, man on the moon, or I don't know, you get some kind of craters, I don't know, showing, revealed, whatever. All right, now as this ink kind of sets up and dries a little bit, it dries darker. So as it dries, you might think, oh, I liked it with a little bit more glow. And so what you do is you build up, a little more. You're going to have to get a feel for it, and you have to get a feel for it as you're working on it. I don't know how much to add. I always just kind of use observation when doing this type of thing. In other words, from past experience, it doesn't necessarily help me too much. I know that I'll have to add it, so that I guess it helps in that way, but I never know. Like on this is the first time I've used this particular color of foil, so it's darker than the other ones that I've used. So you know what I mean? I have to kind of get a feel for it, like right now, I'm learning how to use this foil right now in terms of this, how much ink to apply, how much it darkens when it does start to set up and eventually dry. So, okay, now see, this is what I'm doing right here. We built our cloud this way, right, because the billows are kind of facing upward when they're underneath the moon. But now these clouds are being bottom lit. So I change this from this way. You flip-flop it this way so you have these downward kind of angles like that. You can do them at a side. You can do them at different angles too. You don't have to go, just kind of, horizontal. You can change to a different, tear in your paper towel. You don't have to use the same one, but you can. All right. Coming around like that. It's giving it that kind of cool feel, isn't it? What do you think about this kind of bluish purple foil? It's kind of interesting, isn't it? I think I like it. This is the Recollections. Oh boy, what was that foil pack called? I forgot. But I think there's about 4 different colors in the pack. It's not the primary, it's the other one. Okay, now these ones right here, let's come above the cloud. All right, below it, I should say. It's the opposite because they're being bottom lit. Okay. So I'm building it. I'll try to build up a little bit more right here because it's right next to my moon. So there's a little bit more kind of illumination. It gets darker out here. I don't know, that one right there is pretty light too, but yeah, just in general. All right, now I'm going to put an island down here. And then we'll have a reflection down here. That island, really stamped in black, really isn't going to show up very well unless I put some clouds behind it, right? It has to have something a little bit light in order for it to read on such a dark piece of paper. So let's bring some of that down here. I don't know, maybe I can kind of add some of this down here too. And what I'll start doing is I'll start adding some of that reflection down here too. We'll do a little column of light. Okay. Like this. Kind of building it. That doesn't look good right now, but what we'll do is we'll just kind of spread it out a little bit. It's kind of like a little, not a pyramid, I don't know, kind of a triangle. We'll have it kind of coming out in perspective a little bit. I'm getting a little, my fingerprint showing right in here. See that? That's my finger, my nail, digging into that. So what you might want to do is you just kind of reconfigure that sponge there, or cotton ball. almost there. And now this is going to be kind of the, the water, that light reflecting in there. So what I like to do is I like to add some kind of water striations in here. Let's try it with the same paper towel here. I think this has served its purpose. I've used it before on something. But let's go into this now and add those like horizontal kind of water striations in there. Like we'll come into it like this. It'll be a little bit scratchy looking. Like so. I mean, that doesn't look too good, but here, let me go with a loose paper towel. Actually, that's working better. Let me build it out like this, and then I'll build, kind of scratch it in. All right, that looks really pretty weak right there. Here, let me show you right there. It's a little bit harsh, okay? But here's what you do. That harshness, I kind of anticipate that these days, so I just kind of go back in and I blend in those things. So I don't know, I do that, with the alcohol pens, there's kind of like blobby looking marks, so I'll add that in, and then I'll kind of fog it out a little bit later so that it isn't quite as harsh. So you streak in there, and those streaks were looking a little harsh, so you subdue them a little bit with some additional pigment ink like that, and see how that looks. Okay, let's see. All right, let me add a little bit more of this where that island's going to go, and let's hope that I can heat set this sufficiently. Okay. A lot of freeform. I always like the look of this kind of freeform. That's not exactly directly under that moon. Here, let me widen this a little bit. All right, so let's go back with the dry cotton ball. Like so. Gonna move things around a little bit. All right, that looks kind of interesting, huh? It kind of bends in like that, where I kind of rubbed it, some of that ink off. Okay, so let's heat set this, and okay, I was saying I hope I can heat set this pretty sufficiently. Brilliance inks dry pretty good on foils, with heat settings, so I don't think there should be a problem with this. I need to be able to heat set in order to stamp other imagery over the top of it, because stamping kind of wet pigment ink into wet pigment ink, it won't allow the ink being stamped into the wet one to transfer over. So that's why we have to heat set this a little to a lot. Let's give it a shot here. looks a lot different. It changed the spirit of some of this. It looks real kind of blobby. But it doesn't mean we can't go back and add more. Okay, but let's add the other imagery first. That's one thing that I don't like about this foil is how it really kind of bends and buckles when you heat set. I'm not complaining though because this paper was incredibly inexpensive. So let me see. Yeah, I was seeing if I had the pack right next to me. I don't know where that pack went. I went and cut a bunch of this recently. I was trying to think of the name of this one. I'll put it in the description section of this website. I mean, of this video. Okay, so yeah, that is really buckling on me. Okay, so what this is going to be is this island's going to be in here, and then we'll have a bunch of overhanging tree limbs in here, and hopefully, you know, we can get some really good impressions out of this. I don't know if that ink is really dry yet, and we'll accept this very well. I don't know, let's not take chances with this black, and let's really put a decent amount of ink on it. I was inking up a lot more before, but I think this will do it. How's this? America the Beautiful annual National Park Pass. I thought that would be a good blender. This is the old one, of course. Last year's. Oh, whoa. Okay. All right. Here's an island, and okay, so my island will start roughly right around down here, so about like so. I don't know how hard to press. You know, sometimes if you have a lot of ink, you know, you press less and it transfers over better. Sometimes you press and hold a little bit longer, you know, if there's ink already laid down there, and sometimes it transfers better, and sometimes, I don't know, maybe pressing less, you know, transfers better. Okay, that worked out just fine. I guess we heat set it adequately. All right. It's not a problem. Thinking about going for a double impression. Yeah, let's just go with that right there. Okay. When you use a pigment ink, it really gets on there. Let me clean this off a little bit. I usually wait till after the video, but let me just get this right here, since this is a fairly quick scene, card, whatever. It is a big, you know, this is the half-page piece, though, so fairly large. All right, I'm going, in the inspiration photograph, there's some foreground down here, so what we're going to do is we'll add that to the piece. This is one really juicy pad here. Okay. And we'll just add this right down at the base. Seeing that last impression, I don't think I need to hold this down here too long. It seemed like it transferred just fine. Kind of. It resisted a little bit. I think it's a little puckered down there. Sometimes, you know, like I said, stamping wet into wet. I didn't dry it much down there. But that is not a problem here, because I got my silhouette down here. But let's go in and fill in a little bit more, okay? Which I'm going to do anyway. All right, what I mean by that is, see this down here, it resisted a little bit. It fisheyed on me. Thick oil-based pigment inks on foil can do that at times. All right, so you just go back in, and I'm just going to tap that color right into that space. And it goes on like instantly. And it doesn't have to be perfect down here, okay? This is just kind of providing me a little bit of a foreground, and it is dark on very dark paper, so it doesn't have to be exact. All right, so see that right down there? Filled in. Takes like 2 seconds. Okay, this area up here, that island is really, really kind of floating on me in there. Look at that. Whoa. So what you do is you take this, and then you add a little bit of a shadow at the base of it. Now that island's really quite wet, so I can probably just tap in there, and the ink from the island itself will probably kind of blend in there, but I'll just use this cotton ball with a little bit more ink, and I'll tap in accordingly. You'll be going over some of your clouds, which is fine. This is a really juicy ink right here, so it is really applying quickly. Kind of go for a lighter touch, maybe. See, I don't have this down by any means. I'm just kind of winging it here. I do believe in adding shadows to things, though, to kind of illuminate things and whatnot, to illuminate the lighter areas. And I like to do my shadows at the base of objects. See how that island's kind of... I feel like it's sitting into the scene a little bit more, I guess completely, like that. And I'm kind of toning in some of the backside of it, which is giving it more of a top-lit illumination. Okay. Now I can use this too. We added white up there. We can add a little bit of black too. I don't need to add too much because it's already really dark in here, but sometimes adding it in the four corners frames the scene off nicely. It adds that kind of vignette type of look around the piece. And it contains it, saying that when you contain a piece, it kind of makes it seem like it's kind of like a stage where, it's its own little self-contained universe. That's where everything is happening, and it lacks for nothing else, okay? And then what that does is it creates kind of a nice compositional element to any type of visual that you happen to be working on. Just add that little vignette. Photographers do it all the time, especially like portrait photography. Kind of put that dark thing around someone and they look really fantastic in the composition. But look at that. See that black up there? It's somewhat subtle, but you can kind of see it a little bit more when I put it at an angle. You can see it like right there. And I don't know if you can see it there. It's I didn't even apply it very well. It's kind of choppy, but it's like black against really dark paper, so you don't have to have a really great touch with doing that. Where it would really stand out if I was doing this on white paper and I just did, applied it like I did here. It looked pretty sloppy. So you can be sloppy, and it doesn't really matter. Okay. Man, that is really dark. It's pretty interesting to me seeing this, though, too. Okay, now we're going to add in some additional imagery. This is really where, I don't know, that my inspiration came from was, okay, this is an overhanging tree. This is a quote that I'm going to use on here later. Well, let me take that off. That might confuse you, seeing it on there. It just happened to be the same thing, so I was going to use this on this side, and then when I came to use that, I was going to do it like that, which I'll still do. Okay, so this is overhanging tree limbs right here, just hanging down, okay? Now, look, this sky looks really good just as is, right? But sometimes when you put things in front of things, okay, now I'm going to really have this hanging down, so I'm going to build this, okay? This branch. It doesn't have to be just coming in from the outside of the page. I edit it right there and it ends like about right here. So I have this space up here, but you just kind of keep over, lapping it like that. Okay, now I like to have things going in front of my light sources too, so I'll put some of this hanging branch, these hanging leaves it's called, in front of my moon. Now look at that moon, how great that looks. Having some in front of it. Okay. Okay, you can kind of just build it up, a little bit. We'll go in front of the moon over here. Oh my god, I love that. Huh. Alright. Come over here. I can't see it right there, but it's got that black ink right there, so I got it all over my finger just now. Well, that's all right. Let's hang this really far down here. See that? I can even, I don't know. I don't think I want to go. The photograph has it going all the way down. It's like a weeping willow or something. But I don't think I want to go that far. But the moon is quite obscured in the photo. You see, yay, you should show us the photo. I can't move my computer over here like that. Okay, so there we go. It enhances each other, right? We're losing, some of our cloud formation, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it looks really good that way. They play off each other. That foreground and the background like so. God, it is so dramatic. Okay, that is that. Now I have this smaller one right here just for a little bit of, kind of size variation. You can have kind of near and far, within the foreground as well, so. So I have that. Does that look fairly natural? Okay. I think I want to add this little tiny sailboat. Where is my tiny, tiny acrylic block? There it is. All right, here's another lesson, mid-lesson here. When you get down to a tiny little stamp like that, don't use the same amount of pressure that you've been using on your larger stamps, okay? You can see what this is in relation to, like this one that I just used with this one, okay? A lot of times people don't change their pressure and they stamp it with the same force as the larger one, kind of muscle memory. So they go like this and it becomes a big kind of blobby print, okay? So just practice with it if you need to, just go like that. See that? Nice crisp impression and not, like that. See what I mean? That's, we had to use a lot of pressure when we're using a large stamp because, the pressure gets distributed amongst a much wider area on a large stamp. So you want to just use light even pressure. Okay, and let's see, now we put it right around in here. I'll put it in the light so we can see it. If I put it all in the black, we won't be able to see it. Alright, so there we go, like that. Huh. It's kind of a minimalist composition, right? I don't know, maybe it's not so minimal. I mean, we spent a lot of time on that, on those clouds in there. Now, here's what I'm kind of wondering. I'm wondering if I should even add this quote now. It could be interesting. I might not have space for it, though, anymore. It might be kind of better on the inside of the card. This one's, adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience. I don't know. I don't know. It seemed to have that spirit to me when I thought about it. You know, looking at the inspiration photograph. Here, let me remove that. I really need a block, that square block, I think. One side of my block has tack and peel on it, one side doesn't. Yeah, I think this looks better up here, but it's too busy up here for this quote. And I left a space right in here that could work. I do have some of that black kind of there, so let me wipe some of that off. Oh, okay. Let me do something here. You know, I've been mentioning about the forgiving type of characteristic of this paper, this foil. I can stamp this on here, and if I don't like it, I can just wipe it right off. Okay. Let's try it out. Let's do it in the Brilliance White. Okay. Yeah, my kind of lettering and typography background tells me that that's not really a great spot for it, but the question is that it's not the ideal spot for it, but, okay, I have a lot of cotton on this surface. When I'm dabbing into that white with my cotton ball, it was leaving a lot of, like, little cotton, I don't know, hairs in that. So let me take this and, you know, how I kind of spread it. See that right there? There's all my cotton kind of coming off of there. See, like that? I didn't realize, but I was leaving a lot of cotton. But you can just kind of scrape it off like this, and it comes off reasonably well. I don't know. I say that whenever I'm adding ink, I get that. So sometimes I kind of forget about it. I also don't know how much residue that's the cotton's leaving on there too sometimes. So it's coming off pretty good. I can kind of see when it stops coming off too. Yeah, I got quite a bit on there actually. Alright, I think we're almost there. I do this on my black pad, but I don't do it on the white quite as much because I'm not using my white one quite as much. I used a lot on this one. Scene. Alright. See all that right there? Alright, now, I hope I still have ink on here. Yeah. I need a re-inker, though, for this. I don't think I have a Moonlight. I do have a Moonlight White here. Okay, but as far as this impression goes, the thing that I'm kind of curious about is I don't want it so bold in that area, so maybe kind of having a drier impressions, you know, will work out. That might be too dry, though. I forgot that I bought that re-inker. Okay, I have a kind of there's a moist area on this pad in some of the areas kind of dry. Okay, so there we have it right there. Let's give it a try right in here. This is on the foil too. If I don't get it straight, I can always go for it again. I'm trying to stamp it on the kind of the open area. I had a little bit of black up there, so I didn't heat set it, so we'll see if this works or not. I don't think that looks too bad. I don't know, what do you think? Some of you are saying, that I hate it, you know. But I think that looks pretty good. Now it's going to dry duller than it is, okay? If I heat set that, that's going to set it though. So I'm not going to heat set it and kind of have it dull out and then kind of decide then. So you kind of have to, decide, if you're going to heat set, if you really want something or not. I kind of like it though, so I'm going to keep it. It is the lightest thing right now though, but it will dull out. I don't know. I love copy, meaning text with visuals. I love the marriage of typography and, photography, artwork, etc. Okay, I'm shaking up my Meowsen acrylic pen, and let's get a little bit of a shimmering water down here. Okay, I don't think I need to do too much. We did quite a bit just with our our white pigment ink, cotton ball work, but this really stands out here, so I'm not going to add too much, I don't think. It's a decent amount, those little dots like that. Doesn't it give it a little bit more shimmer, though? Something like that. Can't really see it at arm's distance, which is a good thing. It kind of blends in, really nicely. And then let's add a little bit of this to our, silver line cloud. I won't add too much, though. Like I said, I think the cotton ball pigment ink work is kind of doing the job, so I add a little bit of that up on the cloud. See, it's kind of capturing some of the light right here, like that. But again, it's fairly subtle. All right. Wow. What a little glow. Here's a cotton swab. Let me make my moon a little bit, I don't know, brighter, lighter in one area of it, okay? The cloud is kind of reflecting a little bit more light than the moon, so I'm going to make the moon, the dominant light source as it should. The reflected light shouldn't be brighter than the light source, so going in here like that. I'm not doing a great job, but like I said, when it dries, it kind of, it mellows out. It blends in with the surrounding area because it becomes more transparent, or less opaque on the opacity transparency scale. Okay, kind of moves much more towards the transparent. In this case, it gets darker. All right, I think that looks pretty good there. Look at that moon now. Doesn't that seem like, it's the light source of the scene? I don't like some of that shimmering light down there. So, I like it, but it just stands out a little bit too much, so I'm going to take some of this. Okay, and let's subdue a little bit of it, okay? So you just go in here like this, and lighting, it kind of makes some of those little, those little white dots kind of glow a little bit instead of being, so sharp. Okay, how's that? It's a little bit more kind of illuminated. Yeah, maybe a little bit too much here. Let me remove some. Just kind of blot it off a little bit like so. It'll get darker, but let's just make it darker kind of inherently like that. All right, there we go. All right, a very quiet night. My little, I didn't take off all that cotton ball hair off of there, but, it's one of those things, I don't think stamping should be like a zero source of, I don't know, frustration or anything like that, not like a 0 degree. It should just be a kind of a celebration and kind of retreat for us all. So, little things like that, they'll never bother me. It was just a fun piece to do. And I don't know, I really like this color of foil. And again, then here's what it looks like, just as is. Quarter size piece, half size piece. The half size piece, I just wanted it a little bigger so I'd have more room to kind of play around up there in the sky. But yeah. That is a really fun color. This foil is kind of cheap. There's like all these little, can you see that real textural pattern to it? It's like lizard skin or something like that. But this pack costs, $3.33 for 25 sheets. And it's different colors, the green and red and all that came in here. And this was like a few of the, this color right here. I don't know. This could be my favorite color. You never know, but here's what it looks like. You can see where my pigment ink white applications are when I kind of put it at an angle like that a little bit more, but just fun stuff. I think fairly dramatic and interesting to work on. Splatter painted stars in a different scene would look really fantastic on this too, because it will stand out against that dark background so effectively. But yeah, I love that type of thing down there. How about going and sailing? Let's have a stamping retreat on that sailboat down there. Okay. Or if you get seasick and can't handle it, I'd say this view of this little bay here would be sufficient. All right. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video, hope you like, share, and subscribe. All right. Until the next video.